Here we go.
As you're settling in, tonight is an unusual night, and you actually get the thick version of this book, because we're going to be praying the festival Amidah on Shabbat Amidah. So if you have a thin version, you need a thick version, and it should be pretty much on the cues.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, please come fill in all the places, all the spaces as we come together. Hey, ya da 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 da, ya da ya da 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 da, hey ya da 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 da, hey ya da 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 da, hey ya da 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 da, ya da ya da da da, hey ya da da. Da 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 da, ya da ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, We're on page 129 as we begin together. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh bashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh bashoshanim. Mi zot olam min hamidbar, mi zot olam, mi zot olam min hamidbar, mi zot olam. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Mi kuteret mor ulevona, mor ulevona. Mi kuteret mor ulevona, mor ulevona. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Liv batini achoti kala, liv batini kala, liv batini achoti kala, liv batini kala. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Uri tzafon uvo iteman, uri tzafon uvo iteman. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo haro'eh vashoshanim.
Here we are on this 8th night of Passover, or Shabbat Shabbat after Passover, depending on how you look at it. And it brings up the themes of our liberation story, meeting our love story, which we just sang from, and I'll be gushing from, meeting.
Here we go.
But then people can't see me if I'm sorry.
You can always take it out if you like to.
Sorry, listeners on Zoom. I got it. It's not your fault. If it's wrong, it's my fault. So it brings together these themes of our liberation story, our Shabbat story, which is about this idea that every 7 days we need this opportunity to restore ourselves, and this love story, which is from Shir HaShirim. I'm going to be drashing more about that. But how do they connect to each other? And some thoughts about that, particularly the Passover story and the Shabbat story. When we come to this point in Passover, from having done the Seders already a week ago, coming to the end of the festival, seeing the regular week and the regular life ahead of us post-liberation. It reminds us that our liberation from slavery was not just a liberation from, it was a liberation to. We were freed not just from the tyranny of Pharaoh, but we were freed to be able to begin to take responsibility for our lives in the world, to be in a different kind of relationship of service to the Holy One of Blessing, and a different kind of relationship as free persons in the world to the time we have in this life. And the time we have in this life is finite, as we will be coming to in Yizkor at the end of this service. Time in life we have is finite. And so the question of our freedom then that is on this Shabbat, and particularly Shabbat, at the time when we pause from the rush and the run, the kind of mindlessness of the week. Certainly we are applying our minds all week, but in terms of being aware of our lives themselves, of ourselves as free persons, of our choices about how we are to live, we need a break to even raise those questions, to bring them to mind, to bring them to heart, to give ourselves the space to truly contemplate, what am I here for? What is the meaning of this life? And how do I give myself best in the hours I have to this world that needs me so, to this world that is so deeply in need of repair and love? And so that is, to me, what this Shabbat is about. We get this break from whatever we did this week. Maybe you just celebrated Passover this week, and that is wonderful. Maybe you were also working in the world. Maybe you were busy with things. And so you take this 25 hours to say, okay, Passover is coming to an end. The rest of life the rest of the year is next. I'm free. Am I aware I'm free? Am I aware of my choices? Am I making the choices I want to be making? My life is not infinite in time. And so how do I give myself to its purpose? How do I use my freedom for all of its power? How do I serve the infinite source of life with the life I have? Some light themes. Tonight, as we celebrate Shabbat, we will be doing a very, very short Kabbalat Shabbat because of the festival, and then we'll be heading into the Mariv service. The Amidah will be the special festival Amidah, which is why you need a thick Siddur, because it's not in the Shabbat Siddur, because it's festival. And then we'll be going into our Yizkor prayers. For those who are here, perhaps remembering someone beloved, we'll have a chance to share in those memories before we conclude the service. All right, we turn now to page 390 for the Kabbalat Shabbat that brings us into our festival prayers.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai u'lesameach ושמך עליון, טוב להודות לאדוני, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני, ואמונתך בלילות, ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני. Towards the bottom of the page. Tzaddik יברח כארז בלבנון, יזכה שתולי בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינוחו בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו. Page 392. Adonai, malach geut lavish, Adonai oz hitazar, atif kol.
Page 391.
My bad. 391. Baltimot, atif kol, temer baltimot, nachon kisacham me'at, me'olam atah, naseu neharot Adonai, naseu neharot kolam, yiseu neharot dochiyam, mikolot ma'im rabim, adirim mishbreyam, adir bamarom Adonai, adir bamarom Adonai. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נבע קודש, אדוני לאורך ימים, אדוני לאורך ימים, מקולות מים רבים, אדירים משבריים, אדיר במרום אדוני, אדיר במרום אדוני. We now turn to 392, and we rise.
You may be seated. You can join me on page 397. And time reverses its course, today flowing back into yesterday like a river enclosed at its mouth. Each of us has been a slave in Egypt, soaked straw and clay with sweat, and crossed the sea dry-footed. You too, stranger, this year in fear and shame, next year in virtue and justice. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chokim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shofenu, U'kameinu nasiach bechukecha, V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, V'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla. Le'ahavatcha al tasir, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol merodecha. Page 402. Hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'shofecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskeru v'atzitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem Shem Kedoshim Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem. Page 406. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai Micha Mocha Nedar B'Kodesh Nora Tehilot Oseh Velen Nora Tehilot Oseh Vele Malechutecha Ra'uvanecha V'kayam Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze'eli Anu ve'ameru Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed Ne'emar Kivad Adonai et Yaakov U'yalom Yad Chazak Mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
So we come in a moment to Hashkivenu, our nighttime prayer for protection. But before we do that, on this particular Shabbat of freedom, Shabbat that's still part of Pesach, I want to remind you of the love that we've been praying about that leads us into redemption. So if you go back to page 398, you'll see that we sang about an infinite love, a love of the world, a love as big as the world, a love as big as the universe, a love that's eternal, that we are immersed in. And from there, we went into the central statement of faith that we have on page 400, that all is one, that there is a fundamental oneness connecting all existence, even the things that seem to be opposed to each other, even the things that seem to be outside of our sphere of love, actually are all connected. And then we go into, on page 402, what comes out of that statement about oneness is ve'ahavta. Therefore, you must love. Therefore, you must love the source of all blessing. Therefore, you must love through your actions. And the rest of the Shema is about action. It's about how we use our hands and our bodies and our lives to bring that love into the world. And then that leads us into our prayer for redemption, which is the song we sang on page 406, the song we sang as we cross the sea to freedom. And so there is in our liturgy an understanding between the way we are loved, the way that love enables us to see oneness, where we might otherwise see opposition, and the ways that then that leads us to love, not just in our hearts, but in our actions, and that leads to redemption. And I bring all of that up as we head into Hashkivenu on page 408, our prayer that we pray every night when it gets dark, asking for God's protection as we put our heads down to sleep, that we would be safe, that we would be unharmed, that we would wake in peace, sleep in peace, and wake in peace to tomorrow, to the next day. And, on this Shabbat, I'm sure all of us, when we think of Hashkivenu, are thinking about the people of Ukraine who are running for their lives, who are hiding, who are currently under assault and in danger, and praying for their protection. May we also stretch that prayer over every refugee in the world, whatever country they come from, whatever continent they come from. May we imagine that we could stretch that prayer of protection over them, praying that they will have a home, that they will have a roof, that they will have safety, they will have what they need, that they will be free from danger, that they will be safe. This is a way that we turn our love into redemption, is we love not just the people closest to us, but the people on the far sides of the world. We love all those people, particularly those who are facing danger, oppression, suffering. And so we'll pray Hashkivenu tonight for all of us, for all of them. And then we'll go directly into our Misha Berach prayer, the prayer for healing, in which you'll be invited to share out loud names of people you're praying for, people who are in need of healing, who are struggling, who are sick, who are injured, who are in need of healing. So we turn now to page 408.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Leshalom, V'hamidenu, Shomrenu Lechayim, Ufroz Aleinu, Sukkah Shelomecha, V'takeneinu, Ve'etza Tova milfanecha, Ve'hoshienu lema'an Shmecha, Ve'gei Badgeinu, Ve'aseh me'aleinu oyev dever, Ve'cherev ve'ra'ah ve'yakom, Ve'harchek mimenu avon, Va'afesha utzel knafecha tastirenu, Ki el shomreinu umatzilenu ata, Ki el chanun verachum ata, Ushmor tzeteinu, uvoeinu lechayim uleshalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Me'ata ve'ad olam. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, ve'yakol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Misheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the
Page
source
371. Page 371.
who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We pray for the people we name out loud now.
Norma Miller, Karen Vaughn, Yael Shoshana Bat Nahama, and Nomi Valentina Bat Simona, and Bernard Dovsposky.
Julie Diller and Marie אני אשמח היה נכון אני שבע למשה.
Elgar Truth, his wife Sue, Kratz and Nicolana, Lena Isaac, Bill Zai, Ortiz Harowitz.
River Shirai, Michael Goldberg, Sophie Wecker.
We pray together.
Mi shebe'erach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We come now to our festival Amidah. We'll be praying as we do in the evenings. We'll be praying the Amidah in silence. We're going to be on pages 468 to 493. And before the Amidah, we'll do Vishamru as we always do on Shabbat, followed by Pesika de Yoma, the special verse for this holiday. We ask everyone to please rise and return to page 410 right now, 410 right now, and I'll give you the pages again for the Amidah when we get there. We turn to page 468 for the Amidah.
You're on page 570. If you've been following along with Rabbi Tomono's morning meditations, you'll know that we are ready to count the seventh day of the Omer, and we do so in song. Le'Hashem yichud, kudsha b'richu u'shichlitei, hineni mucha uzmezuman, lekayem mitzvot aseh, shel sifrat ha'omer, shel sifrat ha'omer, shel sifrat ha'omer, shel sifrat Sheva Shabbatot, Timimot Tiena, Sheva Shabbatot, Timimot Tiena. We sing our blessing, Baruch Atah. Baruch Atah, Adonai Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam, Asher Kitshanu, b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, Asifrat HaOmer, Asifrat HaOmer, Asifrat HaOmer, Asifrat HaOmer, Hayom Shiva Yamim LaOmer. Hey, Adonai,
So in a moment, we will come to our Yizkor service that will begin with my Devar Torah. But first, I need to tell you a couple of things on behalf of our Board of Trustees. The first is that CBE members are invited to a special meeting on Tuesday, April 26th at 7 p.m. over Zoom to provide notice on 2 proposed amendments to the bylaws. These are going to be very controversial, I think. Get ready. So the first is the board size was expanded to 23 during the merge, and this would be to return its size to 21, which was its size before the merge. You can come, if you have disputes with this, you can come to the meeting. And the second is that the House Committee will be renamed the Buildings Committee. So it's an open forum. You can put in your opinions, and it'll be on Zoom. And you can, if you don't, the link was in the advisory this week, or you can get it from Nate Jaffe during the week. And then I just want to make sure that, I know you've come for different reasons tonight. Some have come because it's just Shabbat. Some have come because it's Yizkor. Some have come because you know that Requiem is happening next. And I want to tell you about that in case you don't know that. After the service, we're going to be going across the street, those who want to participate in this much larger than us project of remembrance for those who died of COVID. And it's this beautiful process by an artist named Tina Rath, who's here with us. And people draw golden circles for each life lost, and then can write the names of people they know, people they love within those circles. And you can draw many more circles. You don't have to have personally lost somebody to draw circles. You're contributing to the overall commemoration, remembrance. But you also can you can also write names of people you're remembering. And so we're just going to go across the street. There's going to be some kind of contemplative music, and we're just going to take our time with it. And you don't have to even participate, just to come and be there if you want. And I want to invite you to that after the service if you'd like to be part of it. It will also be tomorrow after the Shabbat morning service. It'll also be there for us to participate. And it's traveling all around the country and around the world, and we are really honored to be a location for it. Okay. So we turn now from the themes of Shabbat to the themes of Passover Yizkor. Maria Popova wrote, 200 million years ago, long before we walked the earth, it was a world of cold-blooded creatures and dull color, a kind of terrestrial sea of brown and green. They were plants, but their reproduction was a tenuous game of chance. They released their pollen into the wind, into the water, against the staggering improbability that it might reach another member of their species. But then, in the Cretaceous period, flowers appeared, and carpeted the world with astonishing rapidity. Because in some poetic sense, they invented love. Once there were flowers, there were fruit. That transcendent alchemy of sunlight into sugar. Once there were fruit, plants could enlist the help of animals in a kind of trade, sweetness for a lift to mate. Animals savored the sugars in the fruit, converted them into energy and proteins, and a new world of warm-blooded mammals came alive. Without flowers, there would be no us. No poetry, no science, no music. Popova continues, Darwin could not comprehend how flowers could emerge so suddenly and take over so completely. He called it an abominable mystery. But out of that mystery, a new world was born, governed by greater complexity and interdependence and animal desire, with the bloom as its emblem of seduction. Flowers, she said, in some poetic sense, invented love. Without flowers, there would be no us. On Passover, we read the Song of Songs, our people's great love story, and it compares love and beloveds to flowers. My beloved to me is a spray of henna blooms from the vineyards of En Gedi. Like a lily among the thorns, so is my darling among the maidens. My beloved spoke thus to me, arise, my darling, my fair one, come away, for now the winter is past, the rains are over and gone, the blossoms have appeared in the land, the vines in blossom give off fragrance. Arise, my darling, my fair one, come away. Let us go early to the vineyards, let us see if the vine has flowered, if its blossoms have opened, if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give my love to you. Once there were flowers, there were fruit, she said. The Song of Songs again. Like an apple tree among trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the youths. I delight to sit in his shade, and his fruit is sweet to my mouth. I went down to the nut grove to see the budding of the vale, to see if the vines had blossomed, if the pomegranates were in bloom. The mandrakes yield their fragrance. At our doors are all choice fruits. Both freshly picked and long stored have I kept, my beloved, for you. What Maria Popova is saying about the evolution of flowers and fruit is that they were the beginning of reciprocity. They were the beginning of interdependence, of not just romantic love, but all love. All love between all beings. All the finding of ourselves connected with one another. All the dependence and interdependence, all the belonging to each other. All love. The reason that death hurts is because we love. It reminds me of a favorite poem by Lee Young Lee. From blossoms comes this brown paper bag of peaches we bought from the boy at the bend in the road where we turned toward signs painted peaches. From laden boughs, from hands, from sweet fellowship in the bins comes nectar at the roadside. Succulent peaches we devour, dusty skin and all, comes the familiar dust of summer, dust we eat. Oh, to take what we love inside, to carry within us an orchard, to eat not only the skin but the shade, not only the sugar but the days, to hold the fruit in our hands, adore it, then bite into the round jubilance of peach. There are days we live as if death were nowhere in the background. From joy to joy to joy, from wing to wing, from blossom to blossom, to impossible blossom, to sweet, impossible blossom. A few weeks ago, I went for a walk with a member of our congregation who suffered a bitter, unfathomable death this year. As we were writing to one another to meet up, I suggested that we walk in the park that day because the flowers were just beginning to bloom on the trees. As soon as I sent the message, I remembered that my message would cause him pain. Because as much as those blossoms would give him cheer, they would also wound him. His loved one delighted in flowers, adored flowers. And he had been dreading spring without his dear family member.
dreading walking among the blooming trees, dreading all of the colorful gardens, without his dear one to ooh and ah, to wonder and praise, to feel the joy of all those blooms. How the beauty brings us joy, how the beauty brings us pain. This is by Monica Babbitt. You don't just lose someone once. You lose them when you close your eyes each night and as you open them each morning. You lose them throughout the day, an unused coffee cup, an empty chair, a pair of boots no longer there. You lose them as the sun sets and darkness closes in. You lose them in the ordinary paperwork, household chores, routines taken for granted. You lose them in the familiar, a song they used to sing, a scent of their cologne, a slice of their favorite pie. You lose them in conversations you'll never have and all the words unsaid. You lose them in all the places they've been and all the places they long to go. You lose them in what could have been and all the dreams you shared. You lose them as you pick up the broken pieces and begin your life anew. You lose them when you realize this is your new reality. They're not coming back. No matter how much you miss them or need them, no matter how hard you pray, they're gone. And you must go on. You lose them as the seasons change and the flowers blossom. You lose them again and again. The thing is, we do lose them. We do lose the ones we love. We lose them from our sight. We lose them from our touch. We lose them to the primordial garden, Gan Eden, whose blossoms, like our love, are eternal. The Song of Songs again. My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to pick lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. Our loved ones continue on in that flower-carpeted expanse beyond time, beyond sense, beyond knowing, but not necessarily beyond hearing. We still hear their voices, their words, their laughter, their song in our minds, in our hearts, in our ears, in our dreams. The Song of Songs knew about this too. The Song of Songs knew about love and about death. Let me be a seal upon your heart, like the seal upon your hand, for love is as strong as death. O you who linger in the garden, a loved one is listening. Let me hear your voice. It is the season of flowers. It is the season of love. It is the season of remembering. May we remember their beauty. May we hear their voices. May we feel their love. May their memories be a blessing.
We move on to page 576. Adonai roi lo echzor bin od sheyabitzeni al mei menuchot Nafshi shaveh Adonai roi lo echsa. Adonai roi lo echsa.
On page 580, we come to our Yizkor prayers, an opportunity for each of us silently to make prayers in memory of the ones we love, whom we miss and remember. And I invite you to use the words on the page and also to use your own words of prayer and memory as you contemplate your loved one this evening. We have a sweet practice here at CBE when, in this section of our Yizkor service, when we invite those who are remembering to share a brief little bit about the one they're remembering. No one has to speak, you can absolutely pass, but what we do is we make our way around, and if you are here in mourning or in memory, you can share just a brief thought about the one you're remembering, something you cherish about your memory of them, something about them that you want us to know. We'll just make our way around and hear what you have to share. So take a moment now to think to yourself if you want to share and what you might want to say. So the pressure's off as I make my way around. You'll have already thought of it. And you absolutely are free to pass if you don't want to. Take some moments. So if you do want to share, you're going to want to make eye contact with me so I know that.
I'm remembering my husband, Luigi, who died 20 years ago, very young. I remember his zest for living and his joy just experiencing the world. And I miss him very much.
I'm not sure if people could hear you in the back, but so I'm going to just, can I repeat? Or you can actually, if you want to stand up and repeat it, you can, or I can do it for you.
I'm remembering my husband, Luigi, who died 20 years ago. He was a wonderful man, father, husband, and had a zest for living and just experienced joy in everything that he did.
Thank you. What else do you want to share?
I'm remembering my parents, Saul and Vivian Mater, and also my husband, David Roth. And especially during this Yizkor, I remember him because he always had this great fascination and love of world Judaism, and every time we traveled, we had to visit a synagogue or the Jewish section. Sometimes we got into trouble. And especially during Passover, he started a tradition where he would make different charotzet from around the world, and
remember David. Anybody want to share in the next row? Anybody? No? Anybody in the next row back? Anybody? Here? No?
My father, who did your side this week. He died 23 years ago. My father was a refugee from the Sudetenland. He arrived to Israel as a political point. And when we're looking at the TV every morning, I can't stop thinking of what my father went through and what these people are going through. He made a life for himself in Israel. I hope that these people that are living in Ukraine now will be lucky enough to find them.
Thank you, Eyal. Anybody behind Eyal wanting to speak but didn't get a chance? Judy.
I'm remembering my husband, Andy Pascal, who died a year ago, but today, 2 years ago, was when he was actually first gravely ill with COVID. We didn't think he'd make it, and like, this is the first time I actually had the feeling that, well, I got that weird extra year with him, to spend time with him in and out while he really fought for another year. That's the first time I think I've had that as a positive thought, that we able to get that relationship with them. I think that's
Thank you, Judy. Anybody else wanting to speak? Coming forward now, Neil?
I think of my parents, my dad in particular. I think of him right here at my son's bar mitzvah when he gave my son his talis. And my dad and I, when I was a teenager, I took saxophone lessons, and he would drive me a half hour on a saxophone lesson. It was painful because I wasn't good at saxophone. And on the drive back, he would always stick out his hand and ask me to grab it and say, "Do you know how much I love you?" And I did. And I think of my mom, who was stricken with Alzheimer's and who really struggled with her speech. At the very end of her life, I was with her, and I started saying, "You know, your kid's daughter turned out great, your son, my brother turned out really well," and I said, "And I turned out okay." She looked at me and said, "You turned out beautiful." And I had that as a cherished memory.
Thank you.
This is the 5th year my mother's yortzeit was Wednesday night. And in thinking about her, I had a nice memory, and I shared with my brother and my sister that when we were young, we would go to like a movie or something, and my mother would laugh, and she had the loudest laugh, and she also had the loudest sneeze of anybody. And we would be horribly embarrassed when that would happen in a public place. But, you know, thinking about that just made me smile, because that was my mom. And my mom was a beautiful person who was always true to herself. So that was one memory. And my husband is similar to what Neil shared. My husband, at the end of his life, really couldn't speak, and we didn't know how much he understood. And the last time our son spoke with his dad, he told his dad he'd been accepted to college, and he got a scholarship. And my husband said to him, "I'm so proud of you." It was so special, such a special moment. We'll never, ever forget it. That was the last meaningful conversation that my son had with his dad. We'll remember those.
I remember my aunt Helen Archer. She was a person who he gave to Kunalam. She started a food bank in her church. And it went for over 20 years before the population changed. And there weren't people who were attending the church and doing all that. She died this year.
I think of my husband. My husband loved to be with people, with family and friends. And so for me, every time we have a joyous occasion, it's just that touch of sadness. He would, last week, he would have loved to be at the same, at both of them. He would have enjoyed it so much. He had such a love of being with friends and family.
Judy.
When I was in graduate school at Indiana University, I got a ride in spring break with somebody who drove, and I sat in the car. And it took about a day and a half. And my mother must have said, well, when you get close, give me a call. This had to have been in the phone booth. There were no phones in those days. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I must have called her. And then we pulled up to the house, and she was on the terrace waving a bagel at us. The person who drove me couldn't get over that. She couldn't get over that devotion, which I took for granted. There's my mother at 6 o'clock making this big splash.
Very sweet.
I'm thinking about my mom, Ellen Dean, who passed away in January, and she loved Passover. And she gave me her Passover Seder plate that she had gotten from her mother, and it's so beautiful. It's so like ornate, and every year when I pull it out, I think about her, and particularly thinking about her this year, and especially about the Passover foods that she loved that nobody else liked. And she made this apple kugel, and every year I make it, even though I know that I'm the one who's going to eat most of it, because I put it on the table and people eat like a polite square. But I think it's delicious, and it will always make me.
My father, who fought in Normandy, got all the way to Berlin, freed some concentration camps, saw the horrors of war, never spoke about it, managed not even to get wounded. He was a tanker on the Patton. And when he came back to the States, he became an artist. And the idea being that color, art, overwhelms the horrors of war, and it was amazing.
I'm thinking of the women in my family, particularly both my grandmothers, who had the wherewithal, the strength, and the luck. They took their children into the forest in 1941, and they spent 2.5 years there, and freezing forest with bamboo. And that's how both my parents survived. And I think of my mother. So many stories. She never stopped telling stories about her time in the forest and her life before the forest. And I'm thinking how much she would have loved being here for the music and Kevin singing, and I wish she was here with me. I remember my mother, who died 9 months ago, and my mother-in-law, who died a year ago this week, and two great ladies. My mother came from Paris, coming back a year, and only spoke French and Arabic, but very little English. My mother-in-law only spoke English, being American, but somehow once a year, a couple of years when they got together at our place in New York, they would have the best of time. And it was, they dedicated, they loved each other, respected each
Thank you. Anybody else? Starting. I'm remembering my dad who died just a little over a year ago. And I think I may have said this at some other Yizkor, I'm not sure, but he was such a good person and such a model of a person, except when he wanted to tell a joke, which they were just always just like terrible, usually dirty, usually offensive. And I don't know, somehow, you know, we were all able to kind of like make it through those moments and still see all his goodness and beauty and loving kindness. And he would call me all the time, like not every day, but several times a week, and just leave me messages just saying, I just want you to know I love you. I think you're magnificent. Things like that. I miss him. Oh, one more hand. Oh, yeah.
So I'm remembering my dad, this is the fourth anniversary of his death. He died at this yard site that last day of Passover. And he came over to me and my brother and our families came to have Seder with him. We were living our last year in Europe, so it was kind of a schlep to go there, but he had been sick for a while. So we didn't think anything was imminent, but yeah, this may be the last Seder. So we all came, and the Seder was a Friday night that year. That Seder, and we were going the second night. He was too tired to do so, so my brother led it, and that Monday, he went to see the doctor, who said, done with treatments, and this is it, the hospice, so we stayed home. But I stayed, my brothers and I stayed, and the body just that week. And last week, he was talking, he said that, you know, get his family around, and he said, everything I've set out to do, I did, and whatever I didn't do, I don't need to do. And it's here, that's all you need.
Thank you. We remember as a community the following people who have died since last Passover. Julian Alcon, Henry Backer, Kenny Baer, Lester Block, Hyman Brett, Paul Davidson, Ellen Dean, Margaret DeCalandria, Faye Dobro Kaufman, Sheldon Dollinger, Stuart Duell, Edward Elcott, Renee Elmaleh, Sue Esco, Vasya Feingold, Ray Feinland, Barbara Feld, Stanley Fertig, Gilda Frisch, Andy Fusco, Deborah Georgianis, Mark Gibbons, Rabbi Robert Goldenberg, Erica Gorin, Rodney Green, Cecile Gruer, Dan Geyer, Ruth Hayden Miles, Helen Kaplan Heller, Rana Heller, Roy Hiller, Michael Hiller, Marguerite Iskenderian, Bernard Jeff Jeffrey, Alvin Karp, Florence Kasakov, Rowan Kaufman, Joel Kielsen, Arthur Leeds, Rosalie Lovett, Marie McEwen, Kathy Maddie, Mark Panley, Judith Parker, Edward Powers, Wanda Quintana Herskowitz, David Rabia, Patrice Renault, Chris Robeson, Jerry Roth, Edward Ruslan, Michael Sabin, Richard Samuels, David Sarfati, Yael Schneider, Abe Schumer, Joyce Salmonsky, Wilma Schiffman, Eileen Starr, Isaac Steinberg, Linda Wax, Ethel Weissman, Sandra Zorling. Holding them all together, we say Zichronam Livracha. Page 583. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as they live, we too shall live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. We turn
now to page 582.
and we rise for El Mali Rachamim.
El Malei Rachamim, Shachem Maromim, Amsei Mincha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Gerushim Dorim Kezarakia, Mazhi. Venishma Yakirehu Shel Holchu Le'olamam. Barachamim Yastirem Mesete Knafal Le'olamim. Yitro Bitro Chaim et Nishmatehem. Adonai hu nachalatam. V'yanuchu b'shalom al mishkavav. V'numar Amen.
Fully compassionate, God on high, to our loved ones who have entered eternity, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and the pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. And we say together, Amen. And we turn now to the Kaddish list for this particular Shabbat. We remember the losses in recent weeks in our congregational community. Stanley Ferdig, father of Ira Ferdig, brother-in-law of Kate Whittles, and grandfather of Daniel and Maya. Wanda Quintana Herskowitz, wife of Michael Herskowitz, and mother of Julianne and Annalise. Judith Parker, our member and wife of Stuart Parker, mother of Sarah Green and Ned Parker. Cecile Brewer, grandmother of Talia Kovacs. And these yard sites, Harry Applebaum, Thelma Astor, Millicent Joy Avrutis Lutzer, David Baker, Fanny Barron, Harold Bernstein, Isaac Bernstein, Jules Block, Benjamin Boley, Philip Brenner, Eileen Carroll Soldo, Louise Clark, Edward Cohen, Larry Dressler, Vasya Feingold, Max Fishman, Sylvia Finkelstein, Eugene Fischel, Celia Flaschenberg, Hans Frank, Milton Gelman, Emma Gordon, Fanny Grittelfeld, Bertha Gross, Betty Gumenow, Ruth Halpern, Max Kahn, Anthony King, Gertrude Kirschenbaum, Masha Kowalski, Gloria Langsam, Harry Leibowitz, Albert Levy, Alan Levin, Yetta Meyer, Louis Nachman, Helen Phillips, Estelle Reed, Mark Reich, Rhoda Romer, Rose Rosenfeld, Francis Rubine, Joseph Sado, Louis Shine, Ruth Schicker, Esther Shebitz, Barbara Silverstein, Louis Starr, Alma Steinhardt, Amelia Stern, Judy Stone, Mona Strail, Joseph Weiss, Solon White, Robert Zemetkin. If you are in a period of mourning and I, in all those categories, didn't read your person, or you would like to say their name out loud, please go ahead and do so now. Zichronam Livracha. We turn now to the page, to the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divra chirute ve'amlich malchute. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael. V'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yithalal shmei t'kudisha brilchu. Le'ela minko birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. Ve'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Huya se shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. V'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace make peace for all who mourn. And we say together, Amen.
We turn to page 627. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Limelech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Limelech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Limelech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach. We're going to be making Kiddush in the lobby, and then feel free at any point to make your way across the street for our compassion drawing event with Requiem. Shabbat Shalom, everyone on Zoom. May it be a sweet Shabbat.
You grab it. I got it. Okay.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shalom. Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, Sarah. Shabbat shalom, Bobby Finkelstein.
I have to unmute myself to say Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, Barbara. I didn't realize that I was muted.
Yeah, I just
Shabbat
realized I
shalom.
was muted too.
We
Shabbat
hear you
Shalom.
now, Sarah.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Lois.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Linda, are you there?
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
No,
shalom,
Linda's
Rabbi
gone.
Kimona.
Yeah.
Probably can't hear us.
No, I don't think she can hear you.
Probably not.
Shabbat shalom, Bobby.
Shabbat shalom, Sarah.
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat
Bobby.
shalom, Miriam. Howard, how are you?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you both.
Good seeing you.
Is Linda Simka still there? Shabbat Shalom.
I don't
I
think
saw
so.
her earlier.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, she's off.
Oh, okay. I will
How you
talk
doing,
to her
Sarah?
later.
Okay, I'm doing well.
Terrific. Good seeing you.
It's always nice at night now. Daytime is too hot. For us, it's nighttime now, so it's a good time. Otherwise, it's very hot during the day
Thank
as
you.
we wait for the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm now near Chicago and it's cold and windy. I was in Minnesota and it was very, very cold. We had snow for Passover in Minnesota.
Wow.
So,
There's some places upstate too, they said, New York.
yeah, it snowed. I was in Minnetonka for Passover with my daughter and her family. Now I'm with my son in Illinois. I'll be back in Brooklyn next week.
Okay.
And Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom, Sarah.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Hope you get cool
Have
there.
a good and
I hope so.
healthy and happy week. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Good to
Barbara.
tell everybody.
You too.
Everybody got off anyway.
That was the